one of the taste tests in the Wicked Kitchen series. For those of you that don't know, there are a range of vegan ready meals made exclusively for Tesco's and available throughout 600 stores in the UK. If you haven't already seen them, I've already tested the teriyaki noodles and the barbecue butternut mac. I'll leave a link for that above and below. For today's test, I've decided to go with one of the curries in the range, which is the curried cauliflower onion bhaji with coconut rice. I'm really excited to try this. I do love curries. I make my own curries all the time, and since turning vegan I've done quite a lot of experimenting with cauliflower steaks. I've made my own tikka cauliflower, so I'm really looking to see how this holds up. If you are one of the lovely people that's joining us for Veganuary this year, I hope it's going well for you, and I hope these reviews are going to be really helpful to let you know that there are tasty, delicious, convenient foods out there. You can grab and go without too much hassle, without too much fuss, and go about your day as usual. The whole range has been released in time for Veganuary, and it's a fantastic time to be vegan. I really hope these taste tests are helpful for you. Let's get into the eating. So for today's taste test, I've decided to go for one of the curries in the range, and we're trying the curried cauli, onion bhaji and coconut rice. Crunchy masala marinated cauliflower and chickpeas on a bed of coconut rice. That sounds really good. Remove the sleeve. So first thing to point out, as I mentioned in my introduction video, if you haven't seen that, I'll pop a link in the description box. This was one of the items in the range that I did find had the potential to look the least appetising. This container was one of the only ones where I could actually see the onion bhajis, and a lot of the others, this sauce that you can see here, had migrated to cover pretty much the entire end of this container, which once the cardboard sleeve is on makes it quite difficult then to actually see what's in there. As you can see, we've got a little bit of the sauce here, but like I say, this was the best of a bad bunch. I did have to search through to find this one, and that's a shame because when we do open it up, it's laid out quite nicely. We can see each of the individual elements here, and I think it would just be a shame if people were a little bit put off by the messiness of the lid, because once you do actually open it up, that really looks quite appetising. The smell when you remove the lid is really nice. It's really fresh, it's spicy. It smells a little bit like walking into your favourite Indian takeaway, your favourite Indian restaurant. I can smell these whole spices here. We've got fennel, we've got cumin. The sauce smells amazing. I'm getting the onions. I really like the way it's laid out. I like the fact that there's a lot of different elements to the dish. I do like it when there's a lot of different elements to pick through in a meal. So we've got here, this is the coconut rice with the chickpeas. I've got a nice portion of sauce there. Looks to be a little garnish of pickled onion here. The rest of the tub moving this way is the marinated cauliflower. It all seems to be lying on a bed of fresh spinach, and then we've got these really cute little mouthful size individual onion bhajis, which I think look really cute, and I really like those. That's a really nice little touch. All in all, I'm really excited to try this one. I love spicy food, I love Indian food, I love fresh spices, I love using whole spices in cooking, so I think this is going to be a really nice experience. In terms of ingredients for today's taste test, we can see that there are no allergens present, so this is probably a good one to try for anybody that does suffer with any allergies. There's none listed there whatsoever. And in terms of ingredients, every single one of these ingredients is a food item, it's a food ingredient, it's something that I've heard of, it's something I'd find in my own kitchen, and something I'd likely use if I was making a curry or any kind of Indian influenced inspired dish. So that's something that I'm really pleased to see. The nutrition table again for anybody that's interested. And again, we're stating that it's suitable for vegans, no artificial flavours or colours. Here we go. So first things first, the smell. This smells really, really amazing. It doesn't have that cheap curry powder smell to it. It does smell much more like when you visit a Indian takeaway or a decent Indian restaurant, and you can smell a lot of the whole spices and things. So we can see it's held up quite well to the heating. One thing you may be able to see, the red pickled onion has lost a bit of its colour. I was quite surprised that they included that in there to be heated actually. I would have thought that that would have been much nicer as a separate little pot, the same way they did with the crispy onions in the teriyaki noodles. So I'm quite surprised they've included that in there to be heated. For me, that would normally be eaten cold as a bit of a topping or side dish. Obviously, because it's been heated, there's a bit of more of the element of a fried onion rather than a traditional pickled onion salad, which is something you might get as a side dish in a restaurant or something. So I'm quite surprised at that decision to put that in there. That's just my personal choice, but I think that would have been much nicer as a crunchy pickle on the side rather than in here to be heated up, because that has gone quite soft. One of the first things I want to do is try one of these little mini onion bhajis. I think these are really cute. And again, I can see the whole spices and things in there. That's nice. It has gone a little bit soft. In the past, if I was to choose a curried ready meal, I do usually prefer the ones where the elements come separately and you can cook them separately in the oven. So say for example the bhajis would come separately and be cooked for a separate length of time in the oven to retain the crispiness. So I do like the flavour of those, but like I say, for me it's a bit disappointing that they've been allowed to go so soft in there. I would much have preferred those with a crispier texture, which I think could only really be achieved by heating them in the oven separately. I'm going to try some of the rice with the chickpeas and a little bit of this sauce. That sauce is really quite spicy. The rice and the chickpeas are mild. I'm getting a hint of coconut here in the rice. For me, that's been massively overpowered by the coriander. Unfortunately, I'm one of those people that really doesn't like the taste of fresh coriander, and I would have much preferred to see a lot less coriander in here and a bit more of the coconut flavour that I was expecting. So I think they've gone a little bit overboard there with the coriander, and I think it would have been more accurate to describe that as coriander rice rather than coconut rice, because the coriander there for me is just really overpowering any scent of coconut in there. The sauce is good. It is spicy. I'm quite surprised to see that there wasn't a spice rating on the front of the carton, because that is quite a nice spicy sauce. I'm going to try some of the cauliflower. Oh, there is spinach in there. A little bit of the cauliflower with a nice wad of spinach there. That's good. The cauliflower has got lots of bite still in it. You can probably hear that. There's still lots of texture in the cauliflower there. It's not overly cooked, it's not overly steamed, so that's really quite nice. I do like the fact that it is still covered in all the whole spices. It's obviously been marinated in all the whole spices rather than just a spice blend. So I really like that. The sauce is really tasty. I would say the sauce is definitely a tomato base. It's got that sourness that comes with adding tomatoes into a curry sauce. I think my own preference would have been for the sauce to have actually been cooked onto the cauliflower. That's just my own preference, but rather than a standalone sauce like this, I think I would have rather had the cauliflower coated almost in like a tikka style rather than on the side. That pickled onion has definitely lost its sharpness for me, so I think that's my biggest disappointment overall. Obviously the coriander is something that's very personal to me. A lot of people will love the fact that there's a lot of fresh coriander in there. For me it's just too overpowering. And I think again the chickpeas are a little bit bland just on their own. Again, I think they could have really been marinated and cooked maybe in the sauce rather than just cooked with the rice. Out of all the ones I've reviewed so far, I did notice that this one did seem to let off much more water as it was cooking, which in a way has diluted a little bit of the flavour from the rice and the chickpeas. The description does state masala marinated cauliflower and chickpeas. I wouldn't say these chickpeas were marinated. The chickpeas to me look like they've been cooked with the rice or added in after the rice was cooked. I wouldn't say that that was a marinated chickpea. That looks very much to me the way that comes out of the pan. So I think that's a little bit misleading. All in all, I do like it. It is a nice ready meal. Anybody looking for a quick grab and go curry ready meal, I would definitely put this up there on the list. I do like the way that the vegetables are not overcooked. Even the spinach, which I was a bit worried about. We're all aware of what happens to spinach as soon as we start cooking it. Obviously that has wilted down a little bit, but it's not wilted down to the point where I can't distinguish it as spinach. It's still got a bit of bite and a bit of texture in there. Ratings wise, I think I'd give this about 6 out of 10. That's for what I see as a couple of the little oversights, one being the pickled onion, which I don't think should have been in there to begin with. I think that should have been a separate pot. The other being the fact that there's a little bit too much coriander in this rice for me, which really overpowers the coconut flavour. And I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that sauce possibly cooked into the cauliflower here. The onion bhajis are a nice little touch. Like I say, I do much prefer when they've got a bit more crunch to the exterior, but they will help make the dish a bit more filling. So all in all, I'd give this a steady 6 out of 10. So there's my review of the curried cauliflower, onion bhajis and coconut rice from the Wicked Kitchen range. Have you tried it yourself? What did you think of it? Do you agree with my rating of 6 out of 10? Leave your comments down below. I'd love to hear what you liked or disliked about it. As somebody that was weaned on curry from a very young age, I was always going to be quite a harsh critic of this one. I hope you'll agree that I've been fair in my review. Please let me know if there's anything you disagree with. I didn't mark it down too much because of the coriander. even though I do think it's the work of the devil. If you've tried any of the range so far, I'd love to hear your thoughts, particularly on this dish. Leave your comments down below, I'll do my best to get back to you. I really hope you tune in for the rest of the taste tests in the series, and I look forward to speaking to you all soon. Thanks for watching.